The lonely farewell asterisk. The night was dark and cold. The wind moved softly through the trees, carrying with it the scent of wet earth. Rain fell quietly on the old graveyard. In the middle of that place, one man stood alone. His name was Ethan. Ethan held a small white flower in his hand. His head was down, and his eyes were filled with sadness. In front of him was a grave, a simple stone with a name carved into it. The name was Alara. Alara was not human. She was an alien woman from a distant planet. She had come to Earth during the Great War between humans and aliens. But she had saved Ethan's life. When everyone else called her an enemy, she had protected him, and now she was gone. For a long time, Ethan did not visit her grave. It was too painful. But tonight, he felt something pulling him back here. He needed to say goodbye. For real. He knelt on the wet ground and gently placed the flower on the stone. His fingers touched the cold rock, tracing her name. He whispered softly, "Goodbye, Alara. I'm sorry. I couldn't save you." The wind answered with a low sound, almost like a sigh. Ethan felt a chill run through his body. He pulled his coat tighter but did not stand up. His memories of her came flooding back, the way she smiled, the way her eyes glowed softly in the dark, her calm voice telling him not to be afraid. Tears filled his eyes, but he quickly wiped them away. "You're gone," he whispered. "But I'll never forget you." As he stood, ready to leave, something strange happened. A small breeze blew past him, but it carried a scent. It was sweet, familiar. His heart jumped. That was Alara's scent, the special perfume she always wore. But how no one else would wear that here? He turned slowly to look around the graveyard. It was empty. Only old stones and crooked trees stood in silence. His mind told him this was just his imagination. Maybe the wind had changed direction. Maybe he was just missing her too much. But still, that scent was real. Ethan's heart began to beat faster. He looked back at the grave. For a moment, he thought he saw something, a soft, pale glow near the stone. He blinked. The glow was gone. "No," he whispered to himself. "I'm just tired." He forced himself to turn and walk away. The gravel crunched under his boots as he made his way toward the gate. But just as he reached the old iron fence, he felt something, a touch on his shoulder. Light, soft, almost like a feather. His body froze. His breath caught in his throat. Slowly, carefully, he turned his head to look over his shoulder. There was no one there. But the feeling of the touch, it was still there, warm and gentle, exactly like how Alara used to touch him when she wanted him to feel calm. His eyes widened. "Is it you?" he asked softly, his voice shaking. The wind picked up again, blowing stronger now, rustling the leaves and making the gate creak. A sudden chill filled the air, but deep inside, Ethan did not feel fear. He felt something else, hope. He turned around fully and looked back at her grave. The air above the stone seemed to shimmer slightly, as if something was moving there. His heart pounded. Could she be back? He took one slow step forward, then another. Every part of his mind told him this was impossible. She was dead. He had buried her with his own hands. But deep inside, a small voice whispered, "Nothing is impossible." He reached the grave again and knelt down. The ground was wet, but he didn't care. He placed both hands on the stone and closed his eyes. "Alara," he said quietly, "if you can hear me, if you are really here, please give me a sign." For a long moment, there was nothing but the sound of rain falling. Then, a soft warmth moved across his shoulder again, like an invisible hand resting gently. And this time, Ethan was sure he wasn't alone. A strange mix of fear and wonder filled his chest. He opened his eyes quickly but saw no one, only the grave, the stones, and the night. Still, something deep inside him told him, this is just the beginning. He took a deep breath. "I'll come back tomorrow," he whispered. "I won't leave you again." And as he stood, the wind calmed. The rain softened. The graveyard seemed almost peaceful now. But Ethan knew his life had just changed forever. The strange signal. Ethan could not sleep that night. After returning home from the graveyard, his mind kept thinking about what had happened. The soft touch on his shoulder, the scent of her perfume, the glow near her grave, all of it felt real. Too real to ignore. His small house was quiet. Only the soft hum of old machines filled the room. In one corner sat an old communication device. Dusty and unused, it was a gift from Alara when she was alive. She had taught him how to use it to speak across worlds. But after her death, he never touched it again. Now, something strange was happening. The device, silent for months, suddenly lit up. Its small screen flickered with a dim blue light. A soft beep echoed through the room. Ethan froze. He slowly walked over and wiped the dust from the screen. The screen flashed again. There was a message, but it was not in any human language. The symbols were alien, glowing faintly, arranged in a pattern he hadn't seen before. His heart began to race. It looked like a code, and it felt familiar. Alara, he whispered. She had once told him that if anything ever happened to her, she would send a signal, a private code, only they could understand. Was this it? The device beeped again. The symbols repeated, faster this time, as if urging him to respond. Ethan sat down and quickly pulled out an old notebook. In it were scribbles and notes from the days when she had taught him the alien language. His fingers trembled as he flipped through the pages, matching symbols one by one. The message slowly became clear. Come back. I need you. His breath caught in his throat. The message felt impossible, but also true. A second line followed. Graveyard. Midnight. Ethan glanced at the clock. It was almost midnight. His mind raced with questions. Who sent this? Could it really be her? Was this a trap? But deep inside, something told him this was real. Without hesitation, he grabbed his coat and rushed outside. The rain had stopped, but the air still smelled fresh and cold. The streets were empty as he made his way back to the graveyard. As he approached, he saw something he hadn't expected, a strange glow rising from the ground where her grave was. Blue light pulsed softly from the earth, circling the stone. It wasn't bright, but it was steady, almost like a heartbeat. The sight made him slow down, his feet crunching softly on the gravel path. Suddenly, his old communication device beeped again. In his pocket, he pulled it out. The screen showed one more line. I am waiting. Ethan swallowed hard and stepped closer to the glowing grave. As he stood there, he felt the wind again, but this time it felt different, warmer, almost welcoming. His heart was pounding so loudly that it felt like the only sound in the world. He knelt by the grave and reached out his hand, hesitating for just a second. Then, touching the glowing ground, the earth beneath his fingers felt warm, soft, alive. And then it moved. A ripple passed through the soil, and before his eyes, the ground parted slightly, as if something beneath it was coming up. His breath caught as he watched a faint outline of a hand appear just below the surface, small, delicate, and glowing softly with blue light. It was her hand. A soft voice echoed in his mind, not through sound, but as a feeling, a memory that wasn't his, but felt as if it belonged to him too. Help me. Ethan's eyes widened. Tears welled up, but he didn't back away. He placed his hand gently on the outline of hers. In that moment, a surge of warmth filled him. Images rushed into his mind, distant stars, alien worlds, memories of Alara's last moments, and something else, a secret, a hidden truth buried deep beneath the grave. She wasn't just reaching out for help. She was calling him back into a mystery far greater than he could ever imagine. This was no ordinary return. This was the start of something far bigger. The unearthly glow of ground beneath Ethan's hand felt warm and alive. But this was no normal warmth. It was like something ancient and powerful was waking up. The glow spread wider, circling the grave, casting a soft blue light onto Ethan's face. Shadows danced around him, and the air felt heavy, but he could not move away. Then, slowly, the soil shifted again and her hand emerged fully. But this was not exactly Alara's hand. It was slimmer, glowing faintly, and looked almost transparent. Lines of silver light ran across her skin, like veins made of pure energy. Ethan froze. His mind screamed that this was impossible. She had died. He had buried her with his own hands. And yet, here she was, or something that looked like her. The hand twitched slightly, fingers curling weakly. His breath shook as he gently grasped it. It felt warm, soft, familiar, but also strange, like touching both a memory and reality at once. Then, more of her appeared. The earth cracked open softly, and Alara's face slowly rose from the soil. Her eyes were closed, but glowing softly. Beneath her lids, her hair floated gently, as if underwater, and strands of light wrapped around her shoulders. Ethan whispered her name, Alara. Her eyes opened. They shone with a deep blue light brighter than before. But they held something different now, ancient knowledge, pain, and something that looked like fear. Without speaking, she reached out and touched his chest. With her free hand, suddenly, Ethan's mind was flooded with images, a dark, underground chamber beneath the graveyard, machines glowing and pulsing with strange energy, symbols he couldn't understand, and a portal a-rip in space itself, hidden just beneath this very ground. He gasped and fell backward, the connection breaking for a moment. Alara's body rose fully now, floating just a few inches above her grave. She looked almost weightless, her feet not touching the earth. Her skin glowed softly, her form both real and unreal at the same time. Then she finally spoke, her voice soft but echoing inside his mind. This is not my grave, Ethan. This is a gateway. Ethan's heart pounded. A gateway to what? He asked aloud. Her answer came not in words, but in feelings, danger, urgency. Time running out. The glow around her grew brighter. Behind her, the grave cracked wider, and blue light spilled from below, lighting up the dark graveyard. A deep hum filled the air. And then Ethan understood. Something ancient had awakened beneath this ground, a hidden alien device that was never meant to be found. Alara's form flickered like a fading hologram. She stepped forward, reaching for his hand again, her expression pleading. You must help me, Ethan, she whispered inside his mind. If we don't stop it, Earth will fall. The ground rumbled softly beneath them. The wind howled through the trees. The stars above seemed dimmer now, as if the night itself knew that something terrible was about to happen. Ethan looked at her glowing form, part human, part energy, and felt a mix of fear and wonder. His simple goodbye at her grave had become something much more. This was not the end. This was the beginning of a race against time, and the fate of Earth rested in their hands. Her silent returned graveyard was no longer silent. A low hum filled the air, vibrating softly beneath Ethan's feet. The blue glow from the ground wrapped around Alara, lighting up her face and body. But her face was not exactly the same as he remembered it was her, but changed. Her skin shimmered faintly, almost like crystal. Her hair floated weightlessly, and lines of silver ran through her veins. She was no longer fully human or fully alien. She was something new. Ethan stared at her, unsure what to say. So many questions swirled in his mind. Was she alive? Was she a ghost? Why did she return now? But Alara said nothing. Instead, she stepped forward slowly, her feet hovering above the ground. When she reached Ethan, she gently placed a glowing finger on his forehead. In that instant, his mind opened and visions poured into him again. He saw her last moments before death, how she had died saving him, how her body had been buried here, but then something more. Deep under the grave, there was a strange alien device buried in secret, a machine older than any human civilization. When she was buried, that machine had activated. It had pulled pieces of her soul, her memories, and her energy into itself, and now it had sent her back. But she wasn't whole. She was caught between life and something else, trapped in this strange form. Suddenly, Ethan understood why she couldn't speak aloud. Her voice was lost somewhere in that machine. Still holding her finger to his forehead, she showed him flashes of what was coming next, a danger, a tear in the fabric of reality itself. The machine beneath the graveyard was unstable. Soon, it would open a gateway to another dimension, and whatever was on the other side would come through. Earth wasn't ready for that. Neither was Ethan. Alara's glowing eyes met his. She didn't need words. Her look said everything. You must help me stop this before it's too late. But how? Ethan took a deep breath, forcing himself to stay calm. He reached out and took her ghostly hand in his. Even though she felt light, almost like mist, there was warmth in her touch, a warmth that reminded him of the days they spent together, laughing, fighting, surviving side by side. For a few moments, it felt like she was really back. Then, without warning, the grave behind her cracked open. Wider and a pillar of blue light shot into the sky, pulsing and twisting like a living thing. The hum in the air grew louder, turning into a deep vibration that shook the ground. Ethan and Alara both turned to face it. The gateway was opening, and it was happening fast. Alara pulled gently on his hand, guiding him toward the grave. Her body flickered again, as if fighting to stay present. Ethan followed her, his heart pounding, stepping carefully toward the blue light dot as he neared the open grave. He looked down and saw a hidden entrance. The earth had split open, revealing an ancient stone staircase spiraling deep underground. Glowing with strange symbols, this was what she had shown him in his mind. The truth was buried far below the answers he needed, and the danger waiting to destroy everything. Alara stepped onto the first stair and paused. She turned back to Ethan, her glowing form flickering softly, a sad smile on her face, even without words. He could feel what she was saying. If you come down with me, there's no turning back. Ethan clenched his fists and nodded slowly. He couldn't run away now. He had whispered goodbye at her grave, but instead of ending, their story had just begun. Together, they descended into the unknown, one step at a time. As they disappeared into the glowing depths, the graveyard above fell silent again. But beneath it, a secret older than time itself was about to awaken. The hidden truth stone stairs spiraled deep underground, glowing softly with alien symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Ethan followed close behind Alara, feeling the air grow colder and heavier with every step. His breathing was slow and careful, but inside, his heart was racing. The further they went, the more he felt that this place wasn't just old, it was ancient, forgotten even by Alara's people. Finally, the stairs ended at a wide chamber deep beneath the graveyard. Ethan froze at the sight. The walls were smooth, made from a dark metal that didn't look like anything from Earth. Strange machines filled the room, humming quietly. In the center stood a huge device, a tower of glass and metal, glowing bright blue. And inside that tower, Ethan saw her body. It was Alara's body, just as he remembered her before death. Perfect, peaceful but unmoving. Her eyes were closed. It was like she was asleep inside the machine. Ethan turned quickly to look at the glowing figure standing next to him. The truth hit him hard. This wasn't fully Alara. The glowing woman who had returned to him was just a part of her, a projection, a memory, a soul trapped between life and death. The real Alara was inside that machine. The machine had kept her body and some part of her soul alive all this time. But something had gone wrong. Ethan stepped closer to the glass tower. Small screens around it blinked and flashed strange symbols. Lines of energy moved across the glass, and sparks jumped between wires. Alara's glowing figure stepped forward, reaching out toward the glass. Suddenly, Ethan understood what she had been trying to tell him all along. This was not just a grave. This was a preservation chamber, an alien device designed to store a dying body and soul until they could be healed. But this machine had been hidden here, buried deep underground, forgotten for years. And now, after so much time, it had malfunctioned. The blue light was a warning. If the machine failed completely, it would not just destroy itself, it would open a gateway to the dimension where Alara's soul was trapped. That dimension was not empty. It was full of creatures, dangerous beings that could pour into Earth if the gateway opened. Alara's projection turned to Ethan and touched his chest. Again, a feeling filled his mind, clearer than before. If you repair the machine, I can live again. We can stop the gateway, but you must hurry. Ethan swallowed hard. He had no idea how this alien machine worked, but he couldn't give up. He looked at the screens, the wires, the glowing symbols, and remembered the time Alara had taught him their language. Step by step, he would try. He moved quickly, studying each part of the machine, touching controls carefully. His fingers hovered over a small panel that glowed softly. When he pressed it, a set of wires lit up and alarms sounded softly in the room. The walls vibrated. The floor beneath his feet trembled. He looked back at Alara's glowing figure. She nodded slowly, her glowing eyes filled with hope and fear. Another screen flashed with a simple message in her language. He struggled to read it, but then understood. Stabilize power. Time running out. He rushed to another console, pulling. cables and reconnecting them just as she had shown him long ago. Sparks flew. The machine's hum grew louder but steadier. As he worked, he noticed her body inside the glass tower began to glow softly, almost as if she was starting to wake up. He smiled for a moment, but the joy was brief. A loud crack echoed through the chamber. The machine shook violently and a thin blue line appeared in the air next to it. The gateway was opening. Through that crack, Ethan glimpsed something terrifying, swirling shadows, shapes that moved quickly, glowing eyes watching from the other side. He felt a cold wind rush out from the crack. Alara's projection flickered wildly, her form unstable now. She reached out one last time, her glowing hand brushing his cheek. "Hurry, Ethan, it's almost too late." His hands moved faster now, no longer thinking, just remembering every lesson she had ever taught him. This was the hidden truth. Alara's life, the alien technology, and the fate of Earth were all tied together, and if he failed now, everything would be lost. A race against time. There inside the hidden chamber grew heavier. The thin blue crack beside the machine widened slowly, stretching like a wound in the fabric of space. Shadows from the other side began pushing through, their glowing eyes watching Ethan closely. They moved like smoke, but felt dangerous, alive. Ethan's heart raced faster than ever. Alara's glowing figure flickered again, almost vanishing, but she stayed just long enough to guide him with one final thought. The core must be reset before the crack fully opens. Ethan nodded, his hands shaking. He looked at the machine's central column, the core. It was a swirling sphere of light inside a glass shell, spinning faster and faster. Sparks danced around it, and the hum of the machine had grown into a loud, angry vibration. Time was running out. He remembered how Alara used to explain alien machines. Feel their rhythm. Machines speak with light and energy, not words. He closed his eyes for a moment. He listened not just with his ears, but with his mind. And then, he felt it. A pulse. A pattern. The machine was calling out for balance. Ethan rushed to a nearby panel. Strange controls blinked at him, symbols he barely remembered, but he forced himself to think clearly. He reached for 3 switches, pulling them down in sequence. The machine roared louder, but the spinning slowed just a little. The blue crack stopped growing, but it wasn't enough. The creatures from the other dimension pressed harder, their smoky forms slipping halfway through. One of them reached toward Ethan with long, shadowy fingers. Suddenly Alara's projection stepped in front of him. The shadow's fingers passed right through her glowing form, but as it did, she shimmered and glowed brighter, forcing it back slightly. She was protecting him. With what little strength she had left, her eyes met his again, pleading, "Finish it." Ethan took a deep breath. He saw a final lever on the machine marked with a glowing red symbol. He didn't fully understand it, but deep inside, he felt this was the key. Without hesitation, he pulled the lever. The machine's core flashed bright white for a second, and then everything stopped. Silence. The hum vanished. The blue crack began to close slowly, the shadows on the other side howling as they were pulled back. Ethan fell to his knees, exhausted, watching as the last piece of the crack sealed shut. The room grew calm again. The machines stopped shaking. The glass tower where Alara's body rested now glowed softly, peacefully. Then something incredible happened. The glass slowly opened. Warm white mist drifted out as her body gently floated down, her feet touching the floor softly. Her eyes opened, and this time, they were no longer glowing. They were the soft, beautiful eyes he remembered. Human, alive, real. Alara was back. Not as a ghost, not as a projection. She stood before him, breathing slowly, her skin warm, her body whole. She knelt beside Ethan and placed her hand gently on his face. Her touch was real, warm. "I'm here," she whispered at last, her voice no longer in his mind, but in the air, soft and alive. Tears filled Ethan's eyes. He smiled, feeling relief wash over him. He had done it. He had saved her. He had saved Earth. But even as they embraced, he knew something else. The machine still pulsed softly. Behind them, its purpose might not be over. And though they had won this race against time, their story was far from finished. A new beginning. The cold, underground chamber was quiet now. Ethan and Alara stood close, holding each other gently, Her skin was warm. Her breathing was real. She was alive, not a ghost. Not a vision, but truly here. For the first time in so long, Ethan felt peace, but only for a moment. Behind them, the alien machine still pulsed softly. It hadn't shut down completely. Alara slowly pulled away from him and turned toward it. Her eyes full of sadness and understanding. She placed her palm against the glass column where her body had once rested. "The machine saved me," she said softly, her voice shaking. "But its power was never meant for this world. Even now, it is calling to other places, to other dimensions." Ethan stepped closer, his heart sinking. "So this isn't over," he whispered. Alara shook her head. "No, the gateway can open again. One day soon. And next time, I may not be able to stop it." Ethan's mind raced. He couldn't lose her again. He couldn't face another night standing by her grave, whispering goodbye. There must be a way to shut it down forever, he said firmly. Alara's eyes softened as she looked at him. "There is," she replied gently, "but it comes with a price." She stepped toward him, her fingers brushing his cheek one last time. "I am part of this machine now. My life is tied to it. If it is destroyed, I will disappear, too." The words hit Ethan hard. His breath caught. The thought of losing her again was unbearable. But then, she smiled a real, soft smile. The same smile that had first made him trust her during the war. "This time, we decide together," she said. Ethan looked at the machine. Its glow seemed smaller now. It no longer threatened the world, but its presence was like a ticking clock, a warning. Slowly, Ethan reached for the control panel. His fingers hovered over the final button, terminate. He turned back to Alara. She nodded. Tears filled Ethan's eyes. "Thank you for coming back, even if it was just for a little while." Alara leaned forward and whispered, "I was never truly gone." Her hand gently closed around his. Together, they pressed the button. In that instant, the machine's glow faded completely. The hum stopped. The air grew still, and Alara's body slowly dissolved into soft blue light. But there was no fear in her eyes as she faded, only peace. Her light swirled around Ethan, wrapping him in warmth, before disappearing into the air. Silence returned to the underground chamber. Ethan stood alone again, but this time, he did not feel empty. He felt strong, because he knew that she had come back not just to say goodbye, but to help him save Earth. He climbed the stairs slowly, emerging from the graveyard just as dawn broke over the horizon. The sky was soft and bright, filled with new light. Ethan looked up, smiled faintly, and whispered one last time, "Goodbye, Alara." But this time, it wasn't a goodbye filled with pain. It was a goodbye full of hope. A new beginning, a promise that one day, somewhere among the stars, they would meet again.